All right, welcome back. And unfortunately, now the news gets even worse because I'm going to talk to you about a young man, Sergeant Derek Miller, who was one of the Leavenworth soldiers who's been, it's not my opinion, in fact, has been unjustly sentenced to life in prison, much like my dear friend Michael Behenna, who has since been released from Leavenworth after much consternation and much effort on the part of many, many people. Well, guess what? There's another young man who definitely deserves a chance to come out and live his life the way he deserves to live it, as the father to his children, as the husband to his wife, and as the son to Renee Myers, who's agreed to come on the program today from Frederick, Maryland, his mom. How are you, Renee?
I'm just fine, Joyce. Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
Oh, I remember Derek being one of the soldiers that we rode our motorcycles up to Leavenworth to stand and show support for. It's been a long time that he's been in there. How do you get through the days? How does his wife get through the days?
Well, unfortunately, this whole ordeal has not only cost him his freedom, but it has also cost him his marriage. Unfortunately, their young marriage did not survive the extreme stress and pressure that came about when this situation developed, and he is gratefully still able to see his children. She does still take them out there once a year to see him, and he does his best to continue contact with them and talk to them, and he just looks so forward to their visits. But unfortunately, his marriage is over.
You see, there's such a tremendous amount of personal sacrifice and cost to these young men's ordeals, and that's what they are. These are young men who make split decisions in the middle of a war and then are charged as you would charge a civilian with premeditated murder. I mean, in this instance, this was an Afghan national that kept infiltrating the if I remember the story correctly, kept infiltrating the perimeter, and every time he was questioned, every time Derek approached him, he had a different story. Once he was a plumber, and the next time he was an electrician, and he didn't have any tools with him, which immediately would have caused me to be a little suspicious. And after a couple of incidents, he reached for Derek's gun. And Derek, shot him and killed him. I don't see anything wrong with that story.
Well, and see, the thing that really is disturbing, not only is it the fact that Derek was in a situation where, they were in a hotly contested area of Afghanistan. They had been on high alert for many, many hours. And, you've got this suspicious individual in their area. Once the incident went down and the man reached for Derek's gun and he had to fire to defend himself, and there was no preservation of evidence of any kind. It was unbelievable. The body was removed. The gun was never even examined for fingerprints. Any type of gunpowder residue, nothing that would have, what could possibly have exonerated him was ever preserved. So now you got a man who never had any history of violence, no criminal record whatsoever, a sterling service record, who was recognized over and over again for outstanding service, convicted of premeditated murder without a shred of physical evidence presented, on the testimony of two men who changed their story several times during the course of the investigation, and not even on a unanimous jury. In a military court, it only takes 7 out of 10 panel members to say that the man is guilty to completely destroy his life. And, we ask these young men to put on the uniform of the United States military and go to these horrifying conditions to fight for our freedoms. And then when they come home and they find themselves faced with these kind of charges, they can't even expect those same protections for themselves, because the military courts are completely upside down and backwards from what you and I as average citizens can expect. There's just no universe in which this makes any kind of sense. And so meantime, we have the worst of the worst terrorists being released. The whole Boulberg doll hostage exchange situation just boggles my mind, where it's okay for, high-ranking terrorist operatives to be out free roaming to basically attack us again. And then you've got men like Derek who only want to come home and be contributing members of society. He just wants to be a good parent to his daughters and live his life in peace. And he's sitting behind bars. You tell me how that makes any sense.
I can't. I remember, when I was out there for the Leavenworth 10 ride, that I kept saying this is a battle that we have to win. Every time I hear the Star Spangled Banner, the only thing I think of is, the land of the free, and therefore the U.S. military disciplinary barracks at Leavenworth shouldn't be the home of the brave. And
exactly.
that is it's anathema to what these heroes deserved. And one of the things I think that bears note, and I am the least, I'm the kind of person who looks at the military and looks at my fellow countrymen with I'm colorblind when it comes to especially issues of race. Don't mean much to me in terms of the military. There's no soldier I know of who only hangs around with or only depends on soldiers who happen to be the same color as him. But I think it's pretty outrageous, and people should know that Derek Miller is the only black prisoner inside of Leavenworth right now, isn't he?
I don't know if he's the only black prisoner in there at this time, but I do not know of another case where he, in his similar circumstances, where he is convicted of a crime in a combat situation where they have received no clemency.
Right.
Every other case along his same lines, even if the life sentence came down.
Yeah, Behenna got clemency.
They went and they got clemency right away. Some of them even, not even, 48 hours or several months or whatever into their sentence. Their sentences were commuted down. Derek, is the only one who has received no type of relief in that way. And you're talking about a man who, in spite of what seems like a hopeless situation, is conducting himself with honor and integrity. He's reaching out to other guys in there who aren't handling their situations as well as he is, trying to give them hope and encouragement. He's taking college courses with his eyes on the fact that he has a life that he's trying to get back to, and he wants to be able to provide for his children when he's able to come home. And he's at every time I think I can't be more proud of him, he shows me new depths in himself. And this is the man that they are, that they won't even give him a look and say, you know what, maybe his sentence is a little out of line with the other similar cases. And let's at least, if we're not going to overturn the conviction, let's at least bring his sentence in line so that he can maybe have his life back. One of the things that he said to me that just broke my heart during one of our conversations, and he said, it seems like the powers that be would have been happier if he had come home draped in a flag.
Oh, yeah.
And and it's just, to me, it's heartbreaking when you look at situations like this, and these men who have sacrificed so much, they're treated like their lives are disposable, like they don't matter. It's okay to just treat them like a statistical number, and okay, well, the percentage of these guys that are convicted wrongly, if it's a small enough percentage, doesn't matter.
Right.
Well, if just one soldier who goes in there with the right heart to serve and just gives his all to defend his country goes to prison in a situation like this, is too many.
Yeah.
And then the military justice system as it stands is nowhere near good enough for the men and women who choose to answer the call to fight our battles for us.
That's right.
That we can enjoy the freedoms that we enjoy.
It's a thankless and it's a treacherous job. We ask them to kill monsters. Some of them get medals. Some of them are home with their families. And 10 was sent to Leavenworth for murder. I don't. To me, how can you get murder during a war? These men are the men who fight for my freedom. It's my responsibility now to fight for theirs. And that's why I'm telling you, we've got to get media coverage. Media coverage helped with with Michael Behenna. It's going to help with Derek. We're going to get these sentences reduced. And look, the power of the people still works. The only thing is the people need to know. And that's why I'm really glad that you hooked up with Bill Donahue and the United American Patriots, because they're relentless. He's a relentless dude.
Yes, and they have just been a godsend to our family. We were at the point where we had pretty much exhausted all of our financial resources just to pay for his legal defense during the court-martial phase, and then here's the appellate phase, and we have nothing, and we're desperately trying to figure out what we're going to do, how we're going to pay for this, and then they came and basically rescued our family from the brink. I mean, they have taken this case and they have committed to staying with it all the way until there's absolutely, positively nothing else left to be done. And there is just no one else out there doing what they're doing. They're saving families. Yeah. They're redeeming lives, and we cannot thank them enough for everything that they've done for our family.
Yeah, because I'll tell you, I think about these things and I'm filled with outrage, and I know that the rest of America would be filled with outrage. The only reason they're not is because they don't know, and that's why we really have to make it, every one of us, if you're listening to this program, you have to make it a personal mission that you tell everybody you know, that you send them to websites, that you give money to United American Patriots, and that you go to the Facebook pages, and that you spread them around. I mean, people waste their energy spreading around, videos of the silliest things. This is important information. I remember after the motorcycle ride, we called Fox and CNN and every alphabet soup network that was out there, and they were totally unresponsive. I don't know if they felt intimidated. I don't know what the story was, but that means that individuals are going to have to do the heavy lifting.
Well, that is so true. It's amazing how much impact, people don't understand how much power they have. When we met with one of the congressional offices who is currently has an active inquiry into Derek's case, we are now working with Elijah Cummings' office. Mm-hmm. He's got an active inquiry into Derek's case. We came into that meeting with 250 letters, just from constituents here in Maryland, just to say, hey, this is important to us. And, Derek is a Maryland son, and he deserves your support. We went to Congressman Chris Van Hollen with that stack of letters as well. I mean, it's like, until people speak up and let our elected officials know that these are matters that are important to us, they operate on what they think is important to us. And, our armed forces, our men and women in uniform, they are precious to us. And we would not be able to live the lives that we live if they didn't do the job that they do. So, men like my son, who have sacrificed everything but their lives. I mean, that's the thing, is this has taken everything from him but his life, and he feels like, they wouldn't have been happy unless he had given that too. Yeah. I, for one, am glad that I get to go hold and hug my son and talk to him and have the hope that one day he will be home with his family where he belongs. There's so many military families that are mourning their children now. Right. And one of the things that we're doing is we're trying to get out there to visit him as often as we possibly can. We have a fundraiser going right now, a T-shirt fundraiser through booster.com, that we are asking folks to please, to contribute to our travel fund, because we are in Maryland, he's in Kansas, and we're so far away. We only get to see him once or twice a year, and that's because of the United American Patriots. They do have a travel fund that they offer to every family. Like I said, they're just a phenomenal group of people.
I think that's a T-shirt I think I got that says "Free Derek Miller" with the flag.
Yes, free Derek Miller. Yeah. Yes, but that money, we try to make sure that as much of that money is available as possible for his children to go see him. So we ask for the kindness and support of people who care about Derek's well-being and his morale. And to please buy a T-shirt. If you don't want to walk around with Free Derek Miller on your chest, then make a donation. But we appreciate every act of kindness.
No, you need to
and
walk around with Free Derek Miller on your chest, just like I do, because it makes people ask you, what is that all about? And it gives you an opportunity to tell them what it's all about. And by and large, I have never had one person not say to me, what's the website, who wanted to support this battle. So, do wear it. That's important. I'm going to put the link to the fundraiser. It's at booster.com. I think Frederick Miller fundraiser.
Well,
I'll find it and I'll put it up.
We could even make it easier. They can go to freederekmiller.com, and there is a link to the booster fundraiser on that. There is on his Facebook page. There is also a link to the booster campaign, and then you can, and like you said, you can also click on that link directly. But we have multiple ways, multiple paths to the same destination. But I can only just offer my heartfelt thanks to anybody who will, find it in their hearts to help us go see our son.
And also, write him letters. Michael Behenna came into the studio. I have pictures of him right after, when he was finally allowed to leave the state of Oklahoma. He came into the studio, and, it was an intense moment for me. And I'll tell you, he said he told the audience what meant the most were the letters, the cards. Like Derek's birthday was just July 1st, right?
Yes, it was.
And
it was.
The greeting cards and the letters mean so much.
And he does. He appreciates every single one. And he makes it his goal to respond to every single person who writes to him. And it just warms my heart when people reach out on his Facebook page and tell me that they got letters from him and how much they appreciate getting letters from him. He does. One of the things that was so heavy on his heart when they took him away, the last time we got to speak before they took him away, he said, "Mom, I just don't want to be forgotten."
Yeah.
And I told him that as long as there's breath in my body, no one will ever forget him.
Yeah.
So, yes, the letters, the cards, the time that people take to reach out to him mean so much to him. And they mean a lot to me, too, because, that's my baby.
Yeah.
That's my son, that grew up to be this fine young man that deserves to know that his sacrifice is appreciated by the people he fought for.
Yeah, and listen, if any of you have any doubts, let me just say the conviction rate in the military is 98%. That sends up a red flag to me.
They do what they have to do to get their conviction.
Yeah, they hide evidence.
Lawrence.
Yeah, they hide forensic evidence. They do horrible things, and that's why we're going to stand by Derek. And we're going to stand by the other soldiers that are there. But today we're focusing on him, and I thank you so much, Renee, for coming on the show. I know it's the hardest thing for a mom to do, but it's vital. We've got to keep his voice alive. We've got to keep people focused on it and telling other people, because the media is just not doing the job.
Well, I do appreciate it. Thank you so much for taking the time to hear what we had to say, and thank you for spreading the word about Derek. I don't have the words.
Well, I can't thank you enough for raising a son like that. So you take care of yourself.
All right, you too. Thank you.
All right. We'll have all that information up at the website, linking you to freederekmiller.com. Buy the T-shirt. Tell everybody why you're wearing it, and see if you can get them involved.